Hello, good afternoon. I hope everyone is doing well. Apologize for the technical difficulties, but thank you for joining us today. I am Roger Johnson, Senior Vice President of Real Estate Development here at Invest Newark, and I would like to welcome each and every one of you to our latest real estate webinar entitled Working in Construction. I'm excited for the guests that we have here with us today. They're going to speak on how to start a career in construction. Talk about education and training. Also, how much you get paid, right? Also programs that are available here in Newark. It was important for us to share this information in such a time as this, given how our economy has taken such a big hit due to the pandemic. Tons of people have lost a job, are unemployed. Industries are shutting down. The employment rate in Newark is one of the highest in the state as well. So, if you're currently unemployed, or if you're looking for a career change, or if you're, a high school student, college student about to graduate, and you're undecided what to do, this information is for you. So with that, I'm going to introduce our guests and our host for this evening. For our guest panelists, we have Hector Fuentes with Laborers Local 55, Orlando Mingo, Operations Manager at Newark Works, and Angelique Morrison, Chair for Newark Workforce Development Board. And last but not least, our host, Tracy Wingo, Assistant Vice President of Real Estate Development. Tracy.
Thank you, Roger. Good afternoon, everyone. As Roger said, my name is Tracy Wingo, and I am the AVP of Real Estate Development. Thank you for joining us this evening. We have a very fruitful conversation ahead waiting for you. And without further ado, I would like to hand it over to Mr. Hector Fuentes with Local 55.
Okay. Thank you very much, Tracy. So yes, my name is Hector Fuentes. I'm the business manager of Laborers Local 55. Laborers Local 55 has jurisdiction over the state of New Jersey, the entire state. We're part of the Eastern region, which is an arm of the Laborers International Union of North America. In the state of New Jersey, the organization represents over 11,000 workers. In addition, active members, in addition to 3,000 retirees, and there's 2 building construction local unions, 1 residential construction local union, which is our local union 55, and there's 2 heavy construction labor local unions, in addition to 2 laborers district councils. Next, please. We have organizations within the Laborers International Union here by the name of LESIT. This is a Laborers and Employers Cooperation Trust Fund, which assists our contractors to find work opportunities for our members. The New Jersey Laborers Health and Safety Program too. This assists our membership on different projects to make sure that our members are safely working out there. And the Laborers Eastern Region Organizing Fund. This is a fund that basically organizes contractors and work opportunities for our members. And then we have our Construction Craft Laborers Training and Apprenticeship Program, which we are part of. It's based in New Jersey and Delaware. And we have a Safety Education and Training Fund. So the New Jersey Construction and Apprenticeship Program as well. So yeah, next. These apprenticeship programs have boards. This board is what we call the Joint Apprenticeship Training Committee. We have members of the local union as well as the employers. We have a director that is the person who basically direct all of the intake, and there's a field coordinator within the office. So basically these individuals, what they do is they go out there and they do a lot of these different job fairs, and we do we've get people from different parts of the state to hopefully apply for our programs and training programs, and they come into the organization, and so they are the ones directing pretty much the process. Yeah, next. For our apprenticeship program, which is again the residential construction, since since in the construction, it was very difficult to get people in a lot of the different cities, urban cities that we were targeting to organize workers. The typical trades apprenticeship program will require by the U.S. or State Department of Labor to for any individual applying for a program to have a high school diploma, to have a driver's license, and so on and so forth. So we actually work with the U.S. Department of Labor to sort of knock down some of those barriers, because we wanted to make sure that the workers that we were trying to give an opportunity had an opportunity to come into our organization through an apprenticeship program. So the qualifications is 18 years and older, physically able to perform the work, and also drug-free. The procedures very simple. When we do these job fairs, we want you to, a job or training orientation, apprenticeship orientation rather. We ask you to submit an application. We ask you to attend the orientation class, which it really tells you what the requirements are. And then following that, there's an interview process of about 15 to 20 minutes per applicant. And then an 80-hour pre-apprenticeship training. We call it a Gen Con, which in essence is a general construction class. It's 80 hours, 2 weeks. The drug testing is $50 fee, which is the responsibility of the applicant. And after you go through these first 80-hour classes, you are referred to Local 55 for the residential apprenticeship program. And then we'll put you on to an apprentice list, and then you get referred to work opportunities. The apprenticeship cost is very simple. It's $200 initiation fees, $16 monthly dues. Once you graduate from the program, that goes up to $19, which is currently the dues, for any journey worker. The apprenticeship time is 2,000 hours of on-the-job training program and 320 hours of additional classroom training, which is going to break down in a minute. I'm going to break that down for you. So the first thing that you do is, which is the 80 hours, as I mentioned before, Gen Con, general construction. It includes, scaffold and safety, basically tool recognition, especially for those individuals that do not have any experience in construction, you're going to go through that. Then what happens is you go back out to the field to work for 800 hours. Obviously, those are paid training of on-the-job training hours. Then you go back to the training facility to take framing, right? And so after you do the second class, you go back out to the field and work an additional 600 hours, 600 hours of on-the-job training with a 10% more in pay. Then after you finish that second class, you go back out to the training facility and learn interior finishing and drywall. And then you go back into the on-the-job training for another 600 hours. If you remember, I talked about 2,000 hours, so that's exactly what it is. It's three different terms. One, 800 hours, the first one. The other one, 600, and the other one, 600. So over here, you're finishing up, basically the apprenticeship program with an 80-hour roofing class. Upon you finishing that, you graduate into the apprenticeship program of the laborers. It's called a home performance apprenticeship program. So pay rate, obviously we're speaking about the residential construction industry. We only represent workers in projects that are 4 stories and under. We do not do any commercial prevailing wage work. That is for a different organization within our organization to do. So the 70, 80, and 90% that I talked about, you see all the different rates here. When you first do the 80-hour class and are referred to an employer, you're going to go out to work for $16.24. Plus benefits. And as you can see the rates, as you go back out to the training facility and refer back to the employer, making now 80% because you have more experience. You know, you're making $18.56 an hour, plus what you see in benefits, which is a $5 is what we call residential laborers benefit plan. This is a cash benefit for our employees, for our members rather, that the employers pay for. We wanted to do it this way because it makes this is how the membership wanted to get their benefits structure. In addition to the fact that we represent a very challenging residential construction industry that is very unregulated in the state of New Jersey, and a lot of different states anyways. There is a 40 cents an hour that goes out to the training facility for them to pay for all of the different expenses, and less it 5 cents. Yeah, next. So the pay rate total, including those benefits, 70% of it when you start. So the employer is responsible for an overall compensation of $21.69 an hour. At 70%, at 80% is $24.01 an hour. 90% is $26.33. And then as a journey worker, when you come out and graduate, that means you complete all of your classes, 320 hours total, plus your on-the-job training. As of today, you graduate with a total package of $28.65 an hour. Again, my name is Hector Fuentes. We do construction all around the state. Just so everyone knows, the residential construction and training and apprenticeship program is usually open when there are opportunities for us to be able to send members out to work. We usually do not do training just for the sake of doing training. We want to make sure, that we have opportunities available when we do the training, because we know how much training there have been offered to people in a lot of different communities. And when there's no connectivity or there's no connection to a job opportunity or a career building opportunity, this training it means nothing. So we want to make sure, that, for example, when we have a big project, going on, whether it's in Newark, whether it's in Essex County, Jersey City, or any place in the state of New Jersey, and the developer or contractor requests for us to train, whether it's 15, 20, 30 people, then we start doing our training and apprenticeship program, so that a good third of those workers are apprentices, because we wanted to make sure we give people an opportunity, especially local hires. Local is very important to us. So as we see construction increasing in Newark, we obviously are looking for partnership with those contractors and developers doing all this work in Newark so that they can hire Newark residents. And we do have a strong record in making sure, that local stay local, because we want to make sure that people have the ability to stimulate their own economy in the local community. So that's basically it. You see my email address if anybody has any questions or comments, or you need any information, please do not hesitate and email me at hfuentes@layuna55.org.
Thank you very much, Mr. Fuentes. Before we move on, I would just like to point out to anyone viewing this webinar, this will be recorded and posted on our website as well as our YouTube page, so you can reference it as well as get the contact information at a later date. As well as the Q&A module that we have through this webinar. If you have any questions, please feel free to post those in the Q&A module. In the last 10 minutes of this webinar, we will address questions. So next, we will be hearing from Mr. Orlando Mingo from Newark Works to learn more about the services that they provide. Mr. Mingo.
Thank you, Ms. Wingo. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Orlando Mingo, the Operations Manager for Newark Works. Our agency is housed within the Newark One Stop Service Center located at 990 Broad Street. Right now, all of our services are provided virtual, as we are not currently able to provide services within the building. We are working on obtaining satellite locations in order to holistically provide the necessary service to the residents. Also housed within the one-stop are the New Jersey Department of Labor's Employment Services, Unemployment Insurance, Division of Vocational Rehabilitation, DVR, Veteran Services, and the Newark Workforce Development Board. The Youth Department and Youth Corps are located at 500 Broad Street, but also part of our one-stop system. At the one-stop, we are dedicated to providing vocational and employment services to residents within the community. We strive to build productive relationships with employees and make a positive impact with all our pursuits. Employment services, vocational training, comprehensive adult student assessment system, also known as CASAS, is also administered within our office. We offer adult basic education and a laundry list of other vocational training opportunities to residents seeking training. Next, please. Anyone seeking training must first attend our re-employment orientation and take the CASAS test, which is part of their intake and eligibility process. In addition, you must have proof of identification, proof of address, and proof of income. Income eligibility is based on the current federal poverty guidelines. Anyone who meets the income requirements or provides the required documentation is eligible for vocational training. Excuse me. Next, please. The most common requests for training are for CNA, Certified Nursing Assistant, CMA, Certified Medical Assistant, CDL, Commercial Driver's License, SORA, Microsoft Office, Project Management, and Marketing. Every program year, we have vendors go through our requests for proposals process to determine if we are going to contract with them. Any vendor who is listed on the New Jersey Department of Labor's eligible training providers listing is eligible to submit a proposal for a possible contract with our agency. In addition to vocational services with vendors, which are facilitated by their instructors, we also have a new source to provide training, which is our Skill Up program. Anyone who is not income eligible can seek training at no cost to them through this program. Skill Up is a self-paced online training source for all who are interested. Skill Up is now available to any and everyone throughout the state. As you can see, Skill Up offers a wide variety of training opportunities, and yes, someone can receive a credential after completion of training opportunities. However, some credentials or certifications require a nominal fee. Next, please. Our team places emphasis on educating the public about industries that are in high demand with employment opportunities. We provide this information to job seekers and people needing additional skills in order for them to make a decision that makes sense for them career-wise. We strive to not just place the people in jobs, but into careers that provides and promotes opportunities for growth. As of right now, transportation, utilities, education, and health services are just a few industries that are on the rise, as you can see on the graph. Anyone interested in training or employment can contact us at 973-733-5373 or by our website at www.Newark, New Jersey. Let me repeat that, I'm sorry. At www.newarknjworks.org. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mingo. Last but not least, we'll have Ms. Angelique Morrison from Newark Workforce Development Board as she enlightens us with the great training opportunities that she has available.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Tracy and Roger, for inviting me to participate in today's panel discussion. I am Angelique Morrison, the chair for the Newark Workforce Development Board. We are our board is comprised of local business operators and act as a board of directors to engage with local businesses and to link them with the various local workshops, workforce system here in the city of Newark. One of the many strategies that we use to ensure Newark residents are afforded opportunities is reviewing and applying for various grants that are made available through the Department of Labor through the state of New Jersey. Next slide. So in March of 2018, Governor Murphy announced the development of the first Office of Apprenticeship in New Jersey, and as well creation of the New Jersey Apprenticeship Network. The Office of Apprenticeship works closely with the United States Department of Labor and serves as a one-stop for employers, nonprofits, secondary and post-secondary institutions interested in apprenticeship opportunities. In recognition of the need to provide residents of Newark the opportunity to improve their job-seeking capabilities and/or access to permanent employment opportunities, the Newark Workforce Development Board is seeking a grant offered by the Office of Apprenticeship, specifically the women and minorities in construction. The board will act as a sponsor for the grant, and if we're awarded, will be the sponsor, of the actual program. That way, we will be able to ensure that all of the participants are led directly to employment opportunities for the various construction projects that are in the pipeline for the upcoming future. Right now, there's approximately 15 projects that'll be starting in the near future. So it's really important that we get these grants and get folks trained. The program, the training opportunities and the related construction trades that we'll be working on will act as a direct pipeline to these construction projects. Additionally, we were notified yesterday that one of the new developers here in the city will be revitalizing the former Bear Stadium, and they have committed to providing funding for pre-apprenticeship and apprenticeship training. Next slide. Oh, I've jumped too far ahead. I'm sorry. Next slide. Yeah, so the Bear Stadium is going to be a 9-phase project, and each phase, the developer will be donating approximately $300,000 to provide employment opportunities in the construction trades. They'll be funding the pre-apprenticeship and apprenticeship training for the residents specific to that project. So that money will be also, that money will be in addition to the grant that we are hoping to get for the other pre-apprenticeship and apprenticeship training. One of the things that has been agreed upon by the developer is that there'll be a 10% prevailing wage for construction costs, which you will work out to approximately $15 an hour, or no less than $15 an hour for each worker that is assigned to these projects. And that's also going to be the same for the grant for construction, women and minorities in construction. We are really excited about the opportunities that are coming down the line for us. We have partners that have already been identified to do the training for both the grant and for the Bear Stadium redevelopment. We've also got letters of support from the local plumbers union and the IBEW, and Mr. Fuentes, hopefully from Local 55. Next slide. So if you have any questions or you need additional information, please be sure to reach out to me. My email address is morr2216@msn.com. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Morrison. At this time, for the next 10 minutes or so, we will address any questions that any viewers may have. So at this time, if all of the panelists can just please turn the cameras on. And for anyone who has any questions, please post them in the Q&A module. We will only be looking at questions posted there.
While we wait for questions to come up, definitely want to again thank the panelists for the great information they shared with us today. I do have a question for Hector as regards to the pay scales. I noticed that with the journey workman, the pay I believe is at $28 in some sense. Is that the max amount that someone can make with the organization, with the union?
No, that is the journey worker laborer's rate. We do have another rate, another two rates. There's another one that is for skilled construction workers. That rate applies to those individuals that have skill sets beyond a worker's, a laborer's rate. Or laborers work, but we also have another one, which is the third one. That will be about $4 in addition to that, so it's about $32.62. Now, again, for everyone that's listening, that is the total package, right? So you have to take out $5.45 out of that total package, to sort of get that rate, which is that rate that goes into your into your paycheck. There's also a foreman rate, which again, it's an additional $4 for that individual that have the ability to oversee workers and or construction, have the ability to read blueprints, have the ability to just tell a group of workers what to do, and has the ability to supervise around construction work, And so yeah, so that rate is $36 and like 65, 85 cents, somewhere around there.
And Hector, I know you said that you must be 18 years old, but there was a question that came in if there is an age limit for the program.
There is, because when we sent our participants to the training and apprenticeship program, when they come back, they have to be ready to go out to work, and they have to go out to work for an employer for a profit, basically, right? So basically, no employer that is signed into a collective bargaining agreement with Local 55 can't legally hire a worker that's younger than 18. So that's the reason why the apprenticeship fund does not accept. And these are rules that come from the U.S. Department of Labor, as our training and apprenticeship program is it's a bona fide apprenticeship program by the U.S. Department of Labor. So yeah, that's exactly the reason why.
Okay. We had another question come in. I think someone mentioned that the one stop can pay for training. How much can be paid? Is the percentage, or is it the full cost of training program?
The full cost that we usually pay is up to $4,000, but it could be more. That would include supportive services, like if that client need books, depending on what service they're going into, what training they're taking. We pay up to $4,000 plus supportive service. That includes books, uniform, whatever they need. And we even issue bus tickets for up to 2 weeks until that client gets paid.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Will information packages be available to hand out to clients?
Yes, ma'am. We have, if you visit our website that I gave, they could go on that website and all the forms and everything is there, or they could request, call the 5373 number and request a package to be sent to their email, and we will forward that to them.
Okay. And just for everyone, if you didn't hear in the beginning, this webinar will be recorded and posted on Invest Newark's webpage, as well as our YouTube page, so you can reference it at any time, as well as it will include all the contact information from the panelists. Another question that came in for any of you, where do companies that are MWBE certified and non-union fit into the plan?
So I guess I can take a dive.
I was going to say, Ms. Morrison, this might be perfect for you.
So we do recognize the fact that there are a great number of contractors who are not certified, are not union, and that are also MWBE certified. Part of the mission for, I believe, Invest Newark and for the Workforce Development Board is to ensure equitable participation for all of the businesses here in the city. We are in the process of coming up with some strategies to ensure that those smaller contractors have opportunities to get information and training, to get an understanding of what capacity they need to have, what financial funding may be available. There are a number of strategies that we're looking at. It is vitally important that they do reach out to workforce development. They can reach out to me at my email, and we'll be keeping them apprised. We have a specific construction task force that's working to that end right now. We know that there's probably a great number of projects who are basically open shop rather than straight union. There are no discussions on the table right now for project labor agreements. So, we're looking to make sure that we have the facilities and the opportunities available for these contractors. So, Mr. Harris and I have been talking, as well as some other people, to see if we can put some roundtables together and some informational forums to address those issues.
If I may also, take a quick stab at that question, I guess, I think it's critical that we recognize the need of getting minority-owned companies, whether it's women-owned or just minority enterprises, involved in all those different projects. I think that being able to bring training together for them and give them and help them gain the capacity needed, whether it's like Ms. Morrison said, to understand that back office support that they need, in addition to all of the insurance process. I mean, look, the insurance cost here is so tremendous, right? That a lot of times, our smaller companies can't really participate. And I think that we have also, and something I did not mention, but in 2015, Laborers Local 55 was designated as the city's construction training and apprenticeship program by the council, and signed off by the mayor through a policy. And the idea was to be able to help some of these minority-owned companies, but also bring workers in from the city. And we have been successfully done so with some developers and contractors. And I think for those smaller businesses that are looking for skilled workers, especially in the smaller construction project, residential work, I think that Local 55 is an organization that can help, through our general contractors and also developers, because we need employers to be able to participate in all of this work. There's billions of dollars that are coming up in work, and building capacity is going to be so critical, right? And so, if you don't build capacity, we keep talking about this, But if we don't build capacity for all of these minority-owned companies, you will see these projects built in 10 years from now, and you're still not going to be able to participate. In addition to the fact that we have to bring accountability to all of our developers, and accountability is so critical. We've talked to the mayor, we talked to council about that, because oftentimes, we have developers and general contractors committing to hire local firms. But when the project starts, it's a whole different sort of ball game. And I say this because I see in the process, and sometimes, the requirements for minority-owned companies could be and may be different from the requirements of contractors that they like. And so it's very important that we actually have a broader conversation, as you said, Ms. Morrison, a roundtable, that really touches all these issues, and give contractors like workers, from our cities an opportunity, a real opportunity.
Right.
A real opportunity.
You're right. That is a huge issue. The fact that it's a lot more difficult for these smaller contractors to get the opportunity. The developers / GCs do come with their own, select core of contractors that they're used to working with. So when they're putting together their bid packages, is usually with those contractors in mind. If, for instance, coming here to Newark, if they're seeking the tax abatement where, they get these tax credits, then those projects have hard goals with them for both workforce and for contracting. And as Mr. Fuentes says, to ensure these goals are being taken seriously and met, it has to start with the city council, with the mayor's office and his team, to make the language strong, to make sure that these contractors understand you have to figure out a way to give these folks opportunity. It's not our responsibility to help you do that. That you come to the table, you're saying that you're, coming to do these things, then you need to figure out how to do it. We're more than happy to work with you. And part of that process is to make sure that we can provide them with a good, solid database of contractors, a good, solid database of workers. So we're striving to do that on our end. And we're just asking, or not even asking anymore. We're demanding that, you want to play in our town, then you need to come and play fairly. So, we need to, really make sure that our workers are fully trained, that they have the opportunity to get an introduction to these various trades. That would be through the pre-apprenticeship part, where they don't have to make an actual decision until they get that classroom component, do some OJT. Once they complete that, then when they're ready, they can go into apprenticeship, where they select a specific trade and they go on from there and start, actually making good money and having a career rather than just a job. And the same goes for those contractors. When they are seeking to bid on these projects, first of all, they need to understand that capacity component. What does that mean? Their insurance, the bonding requirements, how they're going to pay how they're going to do their payrolls, their workman's compensation, all of those things that come into play. As Hector said, do you have a strong back office? Because that is so very important, that you have a good back office. And your core employees, how many journeymen, how many foremen, how many supers do you have on staff who can oversee these projects when it's time to hit the ground? Are you ready schedule-wise? All of those things are very important, and we need to make sure that we're providing them with the resources to understand that process, so that when they go and they put those bid packages together and they sit down with that project manager to work out the details, they're ready for them. When that project manager tells them they need to sharpen their pencil, well, why do I need to sharpen it? What more do you want me to take out of this? I need to make a profit just like you. So it has to be a level playing field, and we have some work ahead of us. And like I said, right now there's 12 to 15 projects in the pipeline. The clock is ticking and we need to get started.
Thank you both. Those were great responses. And to a point that you made, Ms. Morrison, for any of these apprenticeship programs or even at Local 55, if someone isn't sure of exactly what trade they want to go into, if they don't know if they want to be a carpenter or electrician, is there a program where they can get exposed to different trades before they decide to settle with one?
Yeah, so the grant that we're going after, the women and minorities in construction, that is a pre-apprenticeship program. So they will be getting an introduction to all of the trades. And as part of the OJT process, we're, ideally what we would like to do, those folks that come out of the classroom component will then be assigned to the various projects or various contractors so that they get OJT. And at a pre-apprenticeship stage. That's why we're making sure that there's the minimum wage rate is no less than $15 so that it's a livable wage for them and not a severe burden for the contractor who hires them. But again, we're working those logistics out. And that'll be probably the same process that's going to be used for the Bear Stadium.
Ms. Morrison, are you
Yes.
through the Department of Labor for the OJT?
Am I through? No, I'm.
Or with the grant you're receiving?
Oh, yes, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mr. Fuentes, did you have anything to add? Any programs through Local 55 or is it similar?
No, it's very similar. Obviously, we are a self-funded organization as far as the training is concerned. We have various training facilities throughout the state of New Jersey, and that is funded by multiple employers that we have as part of the package, right? When we negotiate an agreement with these employers. And we have the ability to train, just cross-train people in sort of different sectors within construction. So look, what I would add in addition to what has been said is, we really have to work hard because, and I do appreciate the $15. I mean, I think the $15 is a good start. But let's face it, right? I mean, even with $15, people are having a hard time living in their places, and rent and just everything else is very and super expensive out there. So we want to negotiate with some of these contractors and developers, not a wage that's really gonna cost the project budget, to tilt one way or the other, but we wanted to make sure, that people go out to work for a living wage. When we looking at the state minimum wage, and that's going to go up to $15 very soon. So anybody that flip burgers, will be making that kind of money. So why would somebody else or somebody would want to go out to work in construction, right? Which is a very hard trade, which is a very hard, sector. Why would you want to go out to work for $15, right? So eventually, I think that we got to have a broader conversation with these contractors and developers, taking also into account that a lot of the work a lot of the projects that are being built in the city is housing, whether it is low rise, whether it's high rise, mid rise, or whatever the case may be. And we want those workers, whether it's through that housing affordability, to have the ability to live in those apartments, on those buildings, or through their own means. And so this is very critical for us. And so up until now, I think the city has done a tremendous job working with us, Local 55, and I think various organizations to do that. But I think there's definitely more to do. And we're hoping that some of these developers coming into the city, requesting some of these tax abatements and all the benefits, have the ability, or at least the willingness to sit down and negotiate, negotiate wages, whether with us or somebody else. Look, for the person that asked the question about non-union minority-owned companies, you currently, right, you have a mandate at the state that that any contractor working on any publicly funded project, that they have to have access to a registered apprenticeship program. And that's critical for a lot of our companies to know, because, you know, it's a very difficult field to navigate if you don't know. And I think that being able to listen to sort of these presentations and understand what does that mean, having access to an apprenticeship program, right, is very critical. You know, honestly, you have access to apprenticeship programs through other means, not just construction unions, but it's harder, right? It's difficult. And I think that when you work with labor organizations, it gives you the ability of a total package type or a holistic approach basically out there, where you have training. For example, if a contractor has a workforce that only does for the sake of better term, concrete, right? But you're walking into painting and you want to do painting, you have an opportunity to do painting for an XYZ project. You have the ability to call your local union and said, hey, would you facilitate training for my workers so they can do painting, so they can do carpentry, so they can do these, they can do that, right? And so you have that ability without coming out of pocket. And that will be qualified training. That will be skill training. I mean, when I talk about skill training, we got very good instructors that's exactly what they've done in the last 2, 3, 4 decades, right? So it's critical that you find good partners. Understanding that the wage and benefit structure, makes sense to you, because that's critical. If not, you won't be able to effectively, efficiently, and competitively bid on these projects. And a lot of these developers are looking for those type of contractors. Yeah, and it's something critical for a lot of minority-owned companies. And I'm not saying everyone, but when you're going out to bid on all of these different projects, Ms. Morrison, referenced 15 projects. Now, some of these projects can be as big as $100, $200 million projects. And so some of these developers do not want to deal with a company that have never paid workers on checks, two checks, right? Or have never paid workers' compensation, have never paid insurance. Because as far as they're concerned, there's no track record of that company not paying all of that. And so that's critical for anybody that's into this business out there, to start building a name for yourself. And the way you do it is being able to put these workers on payroll and just start sort of assuming all of that. And I know that it's easier to say than done. But it's if you're gonna build a successful business in this construction industry, you're gonna want to do that, because that next level type of projects is gonna be harder to get there.
And are there any barriers for anyone with criminal records?
For what?
Or
So if they wanted for these
training?
Training apprenticeship programs, are they accessible to individuals with criminal records?
Not for us. We don't require a background test within our organization. Now, if we refer you to an employer that has those requirements in place, then that trainee or apprentice will be required to that employers, because we don't hire people, we train people. So as far as your track record, we wouldn't do that. Now, there are employers that we have, like, let's say, employers that work for utility companies, right? And if the utility company requests that employer to make sure, that they background check everyone, then you're gonna be subject to that, but not within the local union for training purposes.
Okay. Another question we had come in: A+ Consulting has pending status with NJDOL as state training provider. What is the best way to connect with developers and employers in Newark?
So it's what type of, it's all according to what type of training they're going to be providing. And then they could reach out to the Workforce Development Board, myself, via email, or I guess with Invest Newark, to be added to the database of trainers, service providers. Mr. Mingo, I guess if they are doing some type of trade training, they can reach out to you.
Yes, Ms. Merson. They
Mhm.
reach out to us for whatever training
Mhm.
they desire. And we will be able to answer those questions and give them the right answers.
Mhm. Okay.
I guess the one point that is critical, sometimes people get confused, right? For people to understand is that there's a difference between apprenticeship and pre-apprenticeship, right? And I don't know if I know you guys do a pre-apprenticeship program. I don't know if anyone wants to talk about that.
So yeah, so pre-apprenticeship is, basically a guide into apprenticeship, into the formal apprenticeship. Some pre-apprenticeship programs can actually be certified as be registered with the state or through the U.S. Department of Labor. If the pre-apprenticeship basically was an idea that actually originated out of HUD back in the 90s, and I'm aging myself now. And the program was actually called Step Up, and that program was utilized by various housing authorities to provide training and employment opportunities for public housing residents. Then the HUD implemented a program called Hope 6, which was a program to revitalize severely distressed public housing. A lot of times they were already abandoned, they were torn down and came out of the ground with new construction. And Step Up was the training program to afford residents construction employment opportunities, and also to provide actual business opportunities to those residents impacted by the project. And that was under an act called Section 3, which mandates that residents in those projects are given opportunities for employment, training, and business opportunities. So that was kind of how pre-apprenticeship was born. Those programs actually have apprenticeship standards, they have related training, they have usually a 8 to 12 week classroom component. They have to meet all of the state requirements to be registered, or rather, federal requirements to be a registered program. They actually have pre-apprenticeship wage rates assigned. The participants get raises based on the hours worked during the time that they're in pre-apprenticeship. So it's a very structured program. The difference is that they are introduced to all of the trades. They do not have to pick one specific trade at that time. When they complete the pre-apprenticeship program, which is usually a year, they then are able to make that educated decision as to whether they want to stay in construction and which trade they want to go into. So that's the whole premise of that program.
Thank you, Ms. Marsh. Very well said.
Thank you. I did a bunch of them. In my previous life, before returning home to Newark, I worked for an affordable housing developer in DC, and we had Hope 6 projects around the country. So I did 4 pre-apprenticeship programs in various states.
Absolutely, which is one of the questions that I have had now for statewide housing authorities and the field office, right? Because Section 3 that basically gives an opportunity to our quote unquote residents, local residents, is very ambiguous. Is super ambiguous, in fact, right? Because we're talking about 30% of new hires. 30% of new hires, if you have an employer or developer that comes in and basically states and can prove that he or she has all of the employees required on a project, by law, he or she is not required to hire anyone from the local community.
Exactly. So and the thing is, and it's such a catch-22 process right now, because a lot of the work that's being done on public housing properties falls under the category of preservation, which is where the developer / GC is coming in and renovating units. And a lot of times those units, they're doing that work while they're occupied. They do not relocate the residents. So, and it's
It's all on the rod, yeah.
The contractor, they can't hire the residents because the residents cannot work in their neighbors' apartments. Okay, or if they are on Section 8, they can only work for so long and then they have to stop working because then they lose Section 8. So it's crazy. And you know, to become to do a step up or pre-apprenticeship program, it's not, I mean, it's not really beneficial for a general contractor to do that, you know, just for a specific project. I mean, if that's all the work that they do, then yes, it would make sense for them to do a pre-apprenticeship program for every project that they're on. But if this is something that is not they're doing all the time, it's not beneficial. In my past experience, a lot of times what those contractors will do is just give you money. Here's the money to the program. If you find an operator, we'll help pay for it. So it was a great program. It was a great idea, but to try to get it implemented broadly has not been very successful.
Although commissions of individual independent housing authorities have the ability
Yeah,
to pass you know, resolutions internally where they can demand based on, especially housing authorities that have a redevelopment arm. They can demand because they are co-developers, you know, so as co-developers in some of these projects, they have the ability to demand that there's a percentage of, you know, Section 3 workers. And Section 3 is not necessarily just housing authority tenants.
right. It's the project area, residents in the project area. So it's based on income. It's the median income for that area. Yeah.
Nice. I mean, I think you and I are talking too much now. I don't know.
I know.
No, we appreciate the dialogue. And at this time, we actually don't have any more questions, and we've reached the end of this webinar. So I would love to thank the three of you for your time and for your insight, and just participating. And for everyone who is viewing this will be made public in the next couple of days. This recording will be posted to Invest Newark's webpage as well as our YouTube page. Roger, I don't know if you...
No, you said it all. Thank you all for joining, and you know, enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Take care. Thank you.
Good night.
Thanks.
Bye.